What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to talk about the creation of the new army that I'm finally starting after years and years of it sitting in the back of my head, and that is the Aeldari. The Aeldari are really awesome in my mind because the thing that really brought me to them are the Shining Spears, the Wraith constructs, and for any 40k army, I really like the gods and creation mythos, and with being able to summon the avatar of Iniad as well as the avatar of Cain, I'm like, okay, I need to start at least a small force of the Aeldari. So after scouring the interwebs for lore and tactics and stuff like that, I decided that I'm gonna stick with the color scheme similar to that of who I forgot what it was called. The one that Eldrad's from. That one. So I'm going to go with mainly black. I'm going to have white highlights and then a little bit of red to break up the monotony of just having two color schemes. So it's going to be mainly black, white, and red. And after looking through all the craft worlds and the Inari, I think I'm going to stick with the custom craft world section. So basically like creating my own craft world. And after going through all that, I think I'm going to go with Wrath of the Dead, which is going to benefit the Wraith constructs since they are now able to reroll any wound rolls of a singular one. So that just happens off the bat, which is really good, especially since I could give them like D cannons or make them all close combat orientated. So it's going to be a huge boost. And for the second ability that I've given them is that of Strike and Fade. What this means is that my units can either move in any direction when consolidating, which can help if I'm trying to get them from combat to combat, or the better one is that they can fall back and charge in the same turn. That is huge, because obviously if I'm kitting out my Wraith constructs for close combat, going into close combat, like if I'm on the charge, that's big, and then on my turn I could fall back and then charge again. That is really, really big. Anybody that plays a close combat army, this ability is bonkers. Like, if you have Corn Berserkers and you give them this ability somehow, some way, it's broken. It's OP. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting, especially for the jet bike units like the Shining Spears. That's going to work really, really well. So that's what I think I'm going to stick with for my custom craft world. The thing that I'm not 100% sure is that if I'm doing a custom craft world, can I still have like the avatars in there? Or do I have to go unbound or get a separate detachment? So I'm a little bit confused in that part. So if you guys can help me out with that aspect of it, it'd be really great. I will be reading a lot of the comments for these, just so you guys can help me with all the Aeldari stuff, since again, it's a brand new army that I've never really looked into tactics wise, or on the tabletop. I just knew that I really liked the jet bikes and the Wraith constructs. So moving on, I was looking at their specialty detachment called the wraithhost, if this is even worthwhile. After looking at it, I'm not 100% sure, because you do get some pretty specific stuff for the Wraith Guard, or Wraith constructs in general, like Wraith Seers, Wraith Lords, but I don't know if it's worthwhile. Because, first of all, you have to pay a command point to even be able to make this detachment into a Wraith Host Specialist detachment. And on top of that, you get a stratagem called Wrath of the Dead, which means that at the start of the fight phase, a Wraith Host Wraith Construct unit adds 1 to the numbers of attacks they make. So for a single command point, you're getting an extra attack, which is going to work really well with the Strike and Fade and Wrath of the Dead abilities. Since you can fall out of combat, charge, you're essentially getting +2 attacks right there, and these constructs can reroll any wound roll of a 1. So I think that one works really well, but at that point, you're already down 2 command points. The other ability is Spirit Shield, and this you do at the start or at the end of your movement phase. You pick a Wraith Host Wraith Construct unit that's within 6 inches of a Spirit Seer, and until your next turn, you gain a 4+ invuln save. However, the Spirit Seer loses his 4+ from his runic armor. So essentially, that's the Spirit Seer giving up his save to save the constructs. Now, that's pretty good, because a 4+ is a 50-50 chance of, not taking a wound. But it is at the cost of 2 command points, so that one is a little pricey. But if you're at the end of the game and you're trying to take objectives or whatnot, and you have to stay alive, those 2 command points may be the deciding factor between winning a game and losing a game, so it's there. The other thing too is you also get a warlord trait, and with this it is called Revered by the Dead. Essentially it allows you to reroll charge rolls for friendly wraithhost constructs within 6 inches of your warlord. So again, this is focusing a lot on close combat aspects with your wraith constructs, which is a little bit interesting because for the most part all your wraith units are kind of slow. So in order to get them to the enemy, they kind of have to foot slog it, or put them inside transports, or maybe spend even more command points to bring out the infinity circuit and have them deep strike that way. There's ways around it, but at the end of the day, it's like you're putting in more points, using more command points, and it's like, yeah, you get to reroll charge rolls, but I mean, there's other better warlord traits that I've seen, so I might skip out on that one. And continuing on with the detachment abilities, you get to the Rune of Battle, which is essentially another psychic power that you replace for one of the ones that your Spirit Seer gets, and except Smite. You have to keep Smite, which, why wouldn't you? Smite's really, really good. But what the Rune of Battle ability gives you is a psychic power called Twilight Gloom. It's a warp charge 6, and it allows a wraithhost unit within 18 inches of whatever psyker is casting this power to have the benefits of being in cover even when you're not in cover until the start of your next turn. I mean, it's going to improve the survivability of your wraith constructs, again, to, if you are foot slogging it, to get them closer to combat. But again, you're giving up another psychic power, which this doesn't seem as beneficial as the other ones, depending on what psychic powers you choose. So this one might be another skip, same as the Warlord trait. And then finally, we get to the Remnant of Glory. Essentially, it's a relic. It is a witch staff called the Warp Spawn Bane. Everything's pretty much the same thing. I think the only difference is you do 2 damage in close combat. However, you're always wounding on a 2-up, and you get to ignore any invuln saves that the enemy takes against being hit by this weapon, as long as they're psychers or demons. So I think this is more flavorful than anything, because if you're creating a craft world that specifically fights against psychic users or chaos demons, that kind of thing, then yeah, it would make sense for you to wield the Warp Spawn Bane to mitigate these invuln saves that they'd be able to take. In my opinion, this is another hard pass, so as of right now it's not looking too good as to why I would be taking this detachment, because you're subtracting a command point, and then the only things that are somewhat worthwhile are the stratagems, which again are going to take out more command points. I guess you could kind of make this not as detrimental to yourself if you give your warlord the warlord trait that on a 6-up you could regain a command point, so you might get back that command point that you used to use the detachment in the first place. Is this too much mumbo jumbo for the Aeldari? Because I feel like you might just do better not paying the tax for the wraithhost detachment and just focusing the command points that you already have on the command points that are already or on the stratagems that are already available for you. If you guys have played the Aeldari and have used this, is it good? Because as of right now, it doesn't seem like I'm be taking it. But if you guys can show me otherwise in the comments below, that's going to be a great factor in deciding whether I should put, emphasis on the Wraith constructs with the wraithhost detachment. If not, let me know what other strategies, what other types of tactics and builds I could play if I want to focus on, like I said, Wraith constructs, Shining Spears, and the avatars. So yeah, that's all I got for today. Let me know your thoughts on the wraithhost detachment, and let me know if the custom craftworld abilities that I chose, Strike and Fade and Wrath of the Dead, would work for an army focusing on that. That's all I got for today, guys. Thanks again. I'll be seeing you in the comments, and this has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.